Hey there, YouTube. I wanted to make a quick video on how to create some kind of template, some preset templates with EastWest Opus. So what I mean by that is here I have EastWest open. I have Opus open here, and if I click on this one, for example, here's my strings key switch preset. So I double click on this. So what this video is going to go into is how to create a preset that automatically loads in a bunch of instruments with settings on them, and there we go. It took a minute to load it there. So with that preset, it loads in 5 different instruments here, and they're routed with different MIDI settings, things like that. And then so for comparison, here's if I open my brass key switch template. Again, it takes a second to load it here, but here we go. So here's my brass template. So it's got these different instruments in it. So the question is, how do you do that in Opus, and how do you make it easy to work with? So I want to make a video on this just because it's finding it out. It was difficult for me having to dig through the documentation and figure it out. So just quick disclaimer, this is all basically, this is either stuff in the documentation or figured out through trial and error. If anything's incorrect or needs further explanation, please feel free to comment. And I couldn't find a ton of official documentation on how this works. So this is mostly, again, trial and error type stuff. And it's working for me now. So I just want to share it while I was thinking about it. So first I'm going to go through an explanation of how all this works, and then I'll do the how-to at the end of it. So if you just want to see the how-to, you can jump straight to the end if you want. So first thing is, so what is in one of these presets? I'm using the word preset here, but it's really just, that's just a word that I'm using for it. That's not like a official word term from EastWest. But so what's in it? So like if I open the brass one here, wait for it to load. That one's has some stuff I need to work on it. So this preset here, it has 4 instruments inside of it, and each instrument has certain settings. So it can have like a volume setting here, a panning setting, an input MIDI channel here. It can have an output channel. Now this is only configured to output to channel 1 and 2 here, but if you're outputting to multiple channels, that can be really useful, because when you send your preset back into your DAW, if you output all these on different output channels, then you can then the audio will flow back to your DAW's mixer, so you'll be able to adjust the levels of each of the outputs from there. So that's another thing you can control in the preset. Panning, coloring, and naming. So like if you want to, name these something nice. So like instead of this is like the default name from EastWest here. So you can do 2 trumpets. Right. So you can give things nicer names, make it easier to work with. Again, change the colors on it, stuff like that. And also really important, articulations and key switches. So it doesn't show up here, but I'm using key switch patches for all of these. But if I go over into play and look at the articulations here, so you can see for this trumpets patch here, here's the different articulations I have available to use. And so when you save this preset, you can configure. So this articulation is run on C0 is the note for it. This one is run on C#0. This articulation is run on D0. So you can control which articulations are loaded, which ones are not loaded. And that's another thing too. So like if you see here, here's my 2 trumpets key switch. It's using 366 megs of RAM. If I enable this articulation, it'll use a little bit more RAM. Likewise for this one, the RAM keeps ticking up as you enable more articulations. So by kind of defining and saving your articulations, you can kind of minimize the RAM whenever your preset gets loaded up, and you can also control the order here. So like I can I can move this around here, or change the order of these. I can change the note on them. And so basically, for example, you could do like you could have all your sustain patches on C0, all of your legato on C sharp 0, all of your staccato on D0, whatever. But like you could set up like a common key articulation scheme with your key switches between your different instruments in here. And it's all stuff that just makes the preset easier to work with as you're moving from one project to another. So there's a lot of stuff you could do there with articulations. And then once you have that set up, if you haven't already played around with this, you can go to the perform section, and then it makes it nice to see at a glance how to use these. So for example, here's my trumpets one, and that gets swapped to a different key switch. And likewise over here, here's my French horns. Different key switch. Right, so it gives you an easy way to see what's this performance. It lets you see everything that's available and switch between them real easy. So like here's all the instruments, and then pop between your key switches pretty easily. So anywho, so all of this stuff is in one of these presets. Again, the instruments, all the settings for the instruments, and that goes into the settings inside here as well, like your mixing levels for your microphones, all this kind of stuff. The articulations, key switches. All right. So now, how does Opus think about these presets? So from what I could tell, there's three main ideas. There's the idea of a performance, an instrument, and a project in Opus. And so these are all things that these are words that Opus uses. So if you go up to your menu here, you can create an instrument or performance here. And then whenever you do this, it'll ask you which project do you want to work in. So when I'm creating this instrument, I can put it in this project or another one. Or if I go over here and create a new performance, again, the performance goes inside of a project. So these are three things. So the instrument, that's kind of what you think. If you go into the browser in here, like this is an instrument, French horns, portato, whatever. All these things are instruments, and everything I have loaded in this kind of channel list here these are all instruments. A performance, actually, let me go to the next slide because it has it a little here. So again, the instruments, they're just an individual instrument there. A performance is kind of like a collection of these instruments. And then a project it's a place where you can put a bunch of different instruments and performances. So you can kind of say, all right, if we go back up to here, this thing here, Daniel's Opus presets, this is a project. And within that project, I have these things are performances. So this brass key switch, this is a performance, and the strings key switch, this is a performance as well. So that's kind of what they are. Now, if we look at one of these projects, so here is, so you see my browser here, we have this Daniel's Opus preset. So all these ones with this blue bar beside it, these are all custom projects. They weren't like something that I downloaded from EastWest. These are all things that I manually created while trying to figure out how this works. But this one here, you can see right here, there's a folder right here on my hard drive. So I created this folder here. So, and this is not inside like an official EastWest folder path. Like it's not in like the program files directory or something like that. This is just some random spot on my hard drive. But in there I created, so here's my EastWest projects, and then over here's my Opus presets. So here's this project. And then here's what one of these projects looks like. So within here, you have an instruments folder and a samples folder. And with each of these, they'll give you a README, and then basically the README says store your instruments inside of here. Or when you go to samples, it'll say like store your samples inside here. So you have the instruments and samples. They have this templates folder. which apparently this is where it's supposed to store performances, but I was having some issues getting that working. But that's probably an issue on my side. But and there's some other stuff here like resources. This has like images and stuff for the project data. This not using this at all, but really, so you have those pieces. If we open this, so you have this project file here, and so here's the project file. So here's the project. Here's the title for the project. You can add like a short title. So there's a vendor on it. So basically, I think the way this works is that there's a vendor for the project. So I think that these are all projects that EastWest has created. These EastWest Hollywood projects, but you can create your own project and store it on your hard drive, and then and then you got the description and all this stuff on it. But probably the most important things I know of are there's the instrument folder and the sample folder. And so that tells you, if you go back to that folder on your hard drive, if you go in here, here's where the instruments are located. If you go in here, here's where the samples are located. All right, so that's kind of what one of these projects looks like on a hard drive. So now that we know that, like, how do we actually use this to create a preset? So I'll just kind of go through the full process here. Well, actually, I'll talk through it first and then I'll do it. So basically, again, you create a folder on your hard drive to store your projects in. You create the project in there, and that is just, you create an empty folder. Well, actually, I'm sorry, you don't have to do that. You don't have to create the empty folder. It'll do that for you when you create the project. Then you create a performance. You configure the performance, and then you save the performance to your project folder. And I've been doing that inside the instruments folder inside of here. It may be possible to save it inside of templates, and that might be the better way to go. I'm not sure, but I've been doing it inside of instruments here. But you save the performance inside the project, and then you reopen Opus, and then it'll show up in the list. So that's kind of the process to it. So let's walk through that really quick just to show what it looks like. So I'm going to close out all these instruments. And so I already have the folder on my hard drive here. So we're going to create a new project here. So to do that, we're going to create a new performance. So we get down here, create a new project. And then you can give the project a name here. And then you select the folder to put the project in. All right, so we did that. So that creates the projects, and if we go to our project folder, so now you see here's this project, my YouTube projects, and all of these files in this structure got created automatically by Opus. So it created the instruments folder, the samples folder, all this kind of stuff. All right, so we said create a new performance in that project. So now we're working inside of that performance. So now we're going to load our instruments in it. I'm just going to pick some random ones here. All right. So now I've got 3 instruments in our performance, and we'll just adjust some random settings on it just to show what happens. And then, and then you go over here, you can see, all right, here's all the different instruments. I didn't select the key switch ones, but if you select the key switch patches, it'll work the same. It'll give you all the articulations and stuff. I didn't do that just for simplicity here. Okay, so let's say we've done that. We have our template set up now. So now we're going to save the performance. So you go up here, save performance as. And then you go to your project folder. So here's my YouTube projects. And then again, I'm storing it in the instruments here. But we'll just say my... my YouTube preset. Okay, we did that. So we saved the performance inside there. And then now you look here, my YouTube projects. Here's my YouTube preset. So now we can close out all of our instruments here. And then if we add this, it opens them all back up. You can see it preserved the panning on the instruments. It preserved all the instruments. It preserved the volume levels, things like that. And if I discard that and I reopen Opus here, just to show it works when you restart. See up here, open my preset, and then everything pops up. And again, you can hop over here and you can test it out pretty easy. This one is pretty. This one has a long attack on it, and the volume's low as well, which doesn't hurt. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there you go. So that's pretty much it. Now, is this the best way to do things in Opus? I'm not sure. It seems to be working pretty well for me. And yeah, it kind of gives you a way to set everything up and get your presets going. I wish that this was better documented by EastWest, and there was just a simple guide explaining all this. There's also this idea of a patch here, but I think patches are more for instruments settings rather than like an entire performance. I'm not 100% sure on that because, again, the documentation is pretty lacking from what I've been able to see. But anywho, I think that about covers it for today. Hopefully this was useful, and see you later. Thanks. Bye.